about how basically people who, you know, are outnumbering people that you want to be in positions of power. How it's normally the people who are greedy, corrupt, how they have the numbers when it comes to many positions of power. Not all. Some are different, but the majority. But I'm gonna read something from a book I like, and I like the way it was constructed. But it shows basically everything I was saying, but it gives it to you from a story perspective. So I'm gonna test out my narration and my character voices out over here and see, let's run with it. A little bit of a different style to get across the same point and theme. But I want to try to show the origins of corruption, and I want to try to show also how somebody who doesn't see what they're doing is wrong can be manipulated into being wrong and influenced. And ultimately, I do believe that even the people that do the worst things in life always find some type of justification as to why they feel what they did wasn't really bad. You have to understand why they did it. Sometimes they make some good points, so I'm not here to argue that. So let's jump into what I was trying to. But sometimes, on the other hand, I got to go back. On the other hand, most people are always trying to just look for ways to justify whatever guilt they have for what they did or to excuse their behavior. And that's on the individual. So let me go ahead and jump into it. This is narration. This is character driven, but it's going to get across the same points in ways that I couldn't get across if I was trying to talk normally. So here we go. It's a leader speaking to it's a story about grasshoppers, and this leader is a goodness grief. He's basically looked at as a dictator of quite a few grasshoppers, and this other grasshopper is seeing how his son is having a hard time with him and doesn't want to follow in his footsteps, and his son is leading a coup against his father. So it's the prince against the king. And so this is the dictator speaking to the friend of his son, who the friend of his son is also quite unique in his own right as far as the powers that he has. But here's the conversation. Let me speak to you, my friend of the world, so that you might know me and see my ways as not perfect, but how do you say, plausibly efficient, pragmatic. My ways deliver results. And of course, our military logic. You can understand that. I took to the army in my youth, finding justice subtracted from me. Ranks should have meaning and be only applied to those deserving that have proven themselves to pass the same tests that were available to all in fairness to reach equal status. My stranger friend, Desi, to you I will say the orders of ruling that you will find are an ominous pattern that is inescapable. I will explain to you the inevitable nature of principle and governance that every hopper of any time is under. It is imminent. This is how it is, not as I want it to be. I imagined a world where there were no rulers once upon a time. Let us call it the beginning. The first and only hoppers to exist as this first living animal ever to exist. All hoppers spring from this first seed or her first egg. How do you say it is the beginning of all hoppers? First, for this first hopper, there is the self, a consciousness, an awareness. Then there's competition to exist, a militancy. The world in its most basic form, without any other being, presents challenges to the first hopper to fight, to sustain its own existence against the dangers of the elements within the world. What will he eat? How will he learn? What are his limits? What will he do to brave the temperatures of the cold or heat? Survival. And then, in all the miracles of miracles, there arrives a second hopper. How is it so? I have wondered and have no answer. Philosophy that goes to the realm beyond a hopper's driving mentality for war escapes my interest. So, the second hopper brings to the first hopper a new set of challenges and competition that were never proposed before. This is a new conflict. I will put the second hopper as a female so that creation can exist. After the two come together, there is family. Do you follow me? Desi listens as he did with Callie, his other friend. Yes, I do, Desi says. The general dictator continues. When you establish family, then BAM! Automatically, you now have a hierarchy. A standard is set, and rules beg to be born. Now when families grow, they will compete. It is so. This is how it is. In this competition, they do work together. But in some ways, they are working separately for self sometimes, and perhaps other times for family. It is normal. It is not good, but normal. Now this first family finds some members of the family not working in the traditions of the family. Who set the traditional standard? It does not have to be acknowledged, but a standard is already set, and the conflict comes when it is challenged in a way that someone does not want to accept or include. This is neglect. Now this new standard is created by those who have determined to work in a different way that others see as challenging the traditional standard. At some point with this going on, there will be positive or negative conflict. And through this conflict, you now have a problem in need of a solution. If both individuals cannot be happy in a compromise, then the problem will forever grow. Whoever challenges the standard begins anarchy. Is it wrong? I did not say it was or is. I said it is not good. But that is not me saying it is bad. Who is to say the standard is correct, and who is to say the challenger is not right in what they should have? Somebody knocks on the door and interrupts the emperor, the dictator, as he's talking. The emperor continues. This is not my point. Stop looking at the door, Marcus. I will open it when ready. My point is that it is inevitable that anarchy will be. When there's anarchy and the want to add to a tradition or overthrow another's idea, and when this idea manifests in a way that others do not particularly agree with, then you will find that hopper who is challenging such a standard will immediately turn to plotting a strategy. It is the mind of a ruler measuring power over influence. Need I repeat? I don't think you hear me. It is the mind of a ruler measuring power over influence. Influence will gain power if enough is collected. Power will also lose influence if not respected. Who will follow? There are 3 fools to follow every dumb idea for every one wise hopper to follow a good idea. This is clear. When you have strategy, oh my friend, when you have strategy within anarchy, then rules get fuzzy. Which do you keep? Who do you keep? Who do you trust? What do you let go? Who gets the victory? Who gets the power? Who has the numbers? And who then makes the decisions, Desi? Fools! A knock on the door is heard again, and Desi turns to it, but the emperor, dictator, does not break speech. It is in the victory over anarchy that utilitarian governments are formed. Study the meaning of such words. It is all politics. From here comes the establishment of law and punishment for breaking the law. But anarchy is not gone. Ignore the door, Desi. I will open it when I choose. I want you to know my rule and my point of view. We return to the plot, the strategy and the family of hoppers who challenge the standard. I guarantee no matter how good the intent may be, there you will find corruption like a cousin in your family tree. It is a festering seed multiplying. It is there always hungry and ready to feed. Corruption is the nucleus of all systems as a building block atom of every society. Take away corruption, atom or atom. Take away corruption and competition, and what then is the motivation to build? Desire? A desire to make one's life in some way better? Maybe, yes. But corruption breeds more. Something peculiar. Corruption. Maybe I can think of a better word, but corruption will do for now. I think of it as a cloud. Corruption, or the desire to get rid of it, helps form laws to benefit and protect always those who reign when it rains. Of course, only those in power create the shower of laws. They are the victors. From here begins this inevitable split among the hoppers that the government benefits versus those who feel the government does not benefit them. And they also see the government as unfair or oppressive and punishing towards themselves and is in need of a change. It is the way it is, not as I want it to be. Now arises a dictator from either side, or if not a dictator, then a league of powerful hoppers united that agree to rule together for mutual benefits. Naively, because there will always be a leader. But they agree to rule together for mutual benefits to reinforce the old way or to change it, depending on which side they are on. Here is the coy part. Under these united renegade rulers are followers that will do as the rulers say. These can be thought of as employees or complex followers. They are the soil for which the seed of corruption uses to grow. Now, if renegade rulers have employees, soil, and the so-called soil employees of their own free will choose to be ruled by the employer, how can they be equal? Who is to blame, Desi? Who and what system is used to allow the ability for an employee to trust that he has all the same chances to become one of these rulers if he abides by a structure that promises him an equal ability to achieve a certain rank of status? How many rulers can there be? What happens if one is qualified but never achieves the position he feels he is entitled to receive? What if many feel the aspiring employee is right to feel this way? Is it wrong? Is it right? When do rules change? Ominous patterns. The hierarchy falls the same from leaders down to the common hopper that supports the leader and down to those who oppose the leader. The philosophy behind the conflict is the same on both sides, like a tug of war to which satisfaction is reached by neither. Both claim the other is corrupted by deceivers. Do you see?
It is the way it is.
It is the way it is, not as I want it to be. One ruler only borrows time to rule in inches, where another rules by feet. The odds are against most, but most do not know it and think they can change the odds in their favor now or later. The trick in ruling long is to give enough privilege and rewards to some so that the rest will comply with the rules and think they too have a role to play and can one day have more if they only follow along the standard drawn. Faith and belief. Followers have to believe this lying truth is possible for there to be order. Let me say that a different way, perhaps. Followers have to believe this lying truth is possible
for there to be order.
For there to be order. When the hopper does not believe in the order, then a new one is set from the seeds of war and chaos. This creates turmoil. Pieces stay with me, Desi. We go to war. Peace is found in faith, in an order, which is the knot for the rope in this tug of war. The cycle is repeated, washed and lathered in either the ruling class or the oppressed, revolting to bring back anarchy, and then an order. And thus ultimately the same steps repeat as musical chairs of chants and riots chirping the same tune in a melody of the opposition versus the supporters of whatever order. Same game, different faces and names fighting the same battle that does not change. A tune chirps for the good or evil fighting for position. The Inquisition. There are liars and murderers that infiltrate the ruling class with corruption, the same as there are cheaters and thieves corrupting the oppressed with seduction. But I must admit, the wealthy must protect their rich productions because they are threatened by the average hopper's obstruction. The more a hopper makes, the more he attracts others to take. Hoppers take in many ways. The ruling class will do more to keep the odds only in their favor in order to keep their wealth, and they will do everything within their power to eliminate competition from everyone else. We do this with a disregard for fairness, until it pertains to losing one's own status. The rich will not help another rich hopper If it means losing their own status, they will let the other fall. So what causes a unified elite to segregate? The elite are only exposed as criminals within their own ranks when it is too threatening to allow that one accused to keep his rank. When it is too threatening to those others in positions of power, they have too much to lose, and they are losing it, either financially, or through votes, or through their power. But when they start to lose something, well, then they will turn. They will snitch. But they also may lie. But they may tell the truth and cast out the one. So no matter how good one's intentions are, it is the hopper that is inclined to entertain doing wrong that carries the seed of corruption. Corruption is the obstruction to peace. It lies in a meter in a glass mountain protected by a beast that feasts on the deeds to eat. You must go there. But where does it come from? What starts corruption? Stay with me one more time. One seeking a reason to justify doing what they believe is wrong is what starts corruption. I am not above this or below this being overthrown. This, I know. I am the emperor. This is how it is, not as I want it to be. It happens to all great civilizations. But I will fight, my comrade. Yes. In this world, utopias can never be. I like that word. Utopia. I wish they could exist. But destruction plays as big a role in constructing our world as building does in destroying it. The hoppers cannot handle the true equality of order, so I ration the spoils the best I can. Not because of greed, but for stability, control, protection, order. I give them something to look up to and aspire to be. I give them a purpose. I give too much if I give too much in surplus, then they will see what they have not had and demand to receive more. Whereas, had I not shown them, then they would be happy with what they could get and think to themselves that they got it on their own. If I give too little, they fight each other. If they fight each other, then they are not fighting me, but we are family. Eventually, it will come to me, one way or another. If they fight and they do not work, then my order does not work, because they are fighting one another. My kingdom falls if the people are not together. So I must work for them. I must serve them. If they fight each other, then they are not fighting me. But we are family. Eventually will come to me, infecting me like a disease. This is our hierarchy. This is how it is, not as I want it to be. These are the words of my mind that exist. I give according to measure equally, so that in all there is a fairness existing that the hoppers here can believe in and be a part of, because that is what they need. I am the emperor. Laws are made by the rich. Wars are fought by the poor. Who keeps the score? Privileges are given to the powerful, influential, and the well-liked. How do you become one of those is the question, right? Is it granted or earned? I am a military mind, and those philosophies of character for me, they are of little concern. It might be a sister or brother that is the favorite child. Benefits and power become the question on my mind and everyone's mind. Who gets what and how? How? Unfortunately,
This
this is the
is the
irony.
irony.
A circle,
Checks
checks and balances. Every nation must check on its citizens and its wealthy to make sure no one is cheating in order to try and balance power and balance finances in a way to fit or to serve their interests. The richer one is the more power the richer one is the more power they have, and it is harder to control anything from that rich one without having to give something in return. Manipulation without being exposed. That is the hardest part of establishing a kingdom, Desi. War
is the
is one of the easier parts. Most hoppers think war will solve everything, when actually war just gives the chance for new problems to start. I must manifest maintenance. Checks and balances are what the hopper really wants. Checks and balances. It is so. Who will be punished to keep others in check? What are the penalties to feel things are balanced? Are they higher for those who cannot afford to pay and less for those who have too much? Who gets checked and who then balances? What is your interest? Will they be fair or skewed? Tilted? Once this is settled or agreed on as fair or at least vastly accepted by the majority of hoppers, then and only then can a nation build without constant war among one another. Leadership. This is of my concern. The spoils and goods are usually snatched by the hungriest or by the one who has the means to attain them, along with the desire. Desire. Desire is a conundrum. It is honest while at the same time lies, hides and abides in the purest and most corrupt of eyes where our lives are tied. It will not be denied. It is our ego and our pride. So who do you think lets their desires define their lives? The secure or insecure? The modest dignified or the eager prideful type? I will let you decide. Now, think of all those you know hungry for power or want to be recognized. Are they your models of morale and principle? Dignity? Do they practice humility to share honor? And are they usually selfless? No. Do not lie to yourself. You would be a fool to think the majority of those who pursue positions of power are not motivated by ego. It is not the way I want it to be. It is the way it is. Unfortunately for most hoppers hungry for power, the previous qualities of good principle I mentioned do not rule their motivations. This is the reason the good hoppers that are in positions of power are always in the minority. Why? Because the power hungry have traits of good and evil and are willing to manipulate both to get what they want. They give and they take. Their insecurities bring them to this place. It is their desire, their thirst, Desi. They just want to taste. It is their way. Power for the ego's sake. To prove to others that they should be obeyed, to receive glory, to make one's parents proud, to receive things that they believed others had that they didn't. For the thrill, for greed, for addiction, for security are all reasons we use to motivate ourselves to pursue an image we want to create. So, If this is the race of power fueled and ruled by a conglomerate of corrupt faces, then where do the honorable have a place if their motivations take them away from running the race in the first place? They become victims to fate by those who are crooked and sometimes straight. Oddly, a weird aura persists in this world, where good merits always prevail over evil in the hearts of all hoppers, but not necessarily in our actions. This is why evil masks itself in good to appeal to a hopper's moral satisfaction, or as you may say, moral satisfaction. It is addiction by subtraction. This is why evil must mask itself in good to appeal to a hopper's moral satisfaction. It is addition by subtraction. For example, consider these interactions. If you curse, you must bless. If you cause sickness, you must provide health. Whenever you take from some, you must give back to another. I must control what they discover. If they know I lie, they know I kill. They know I am not fair, but I say what they feel. I give gifts that are real. And if I smile and tell a joke, then they will overlook my ills. They would even admire me still. Hoppers will get used to anything until they are forced to live with one who has it better. No matter how good any hopper has it, this changes their reason like seasons due to weather. Everyone is content with what they have until they see someone else who has it better. Corruption is clever. Good and evil on this earth are tied forever. I, as an emperor, must bring my hoppers together. When we left the Queen, my hoppers had nothing. We were farmers without seeds, scavenging. I gave my hoppers a noble identity. I turned my country from being entrepreneurs at everything and a master of nothing to being a hopper dedicated to one thing. That is manufacturing. I told them under me we would achieve and succeed, and they would forever have all that they would ever need. They listened to me. They wanted me to be their emperor. They asked me to be their king. I took away our independent farming, and they were mad at me. They conspired to unite against me. Desi, this was the hopper majority ready to defy me. No hopper was allowed to sell anything without first consulting me. I used my soldiers, my infantry, to instill fear throughout the community. I traveled to many lands and met with other kings and queens. I told them my hoppers could make whatever they need for half the price if they did business with me. I am the emperor. They, of course, agreed. Countries outsourced all their work to me, teaching my hoppers how to make any and everything. It was not long before I had an industry. I took away my hoppers' independence and ability to enjoy free marketing, but I gave them education, food, and healthcare facilities for free. I gave them houses and jobs if they swore themselves allegiance to me. They could enjoy everything. Just your allegiance to me. So they worked hard. They worked long because they feared if they lost their job, they would lose their homes, to which I owned everything. Equality among hoppers was all I wanted them to see. But now, Desi, now, you with my son, you see, the world is changing. There is something coming. This is the way it is, not the way I want it to be. Evil can take a bad with the good to convince the rest of the hoppers that the ends should justify the means, if what they want to see becomes what they believe. You do not hear me. Evil can take a bad with a good to convince the rest of the hoppers that the ends justify the means, if what they want to see becomes what they believe. Take that and compare that to the good. Those hoppers that believe in and practice being selfless, patient, not drawn or allured by the vanity and material things. Think of those who do not mind relinquishing power, sharing power, compromising. Think of listeners and those trying to understand others that disagree with themselves while refusing to manipulate or trick another in an attempt to get ahead. Count the rest of whatever qualities you wish to include, and you will see the weight of burden they carry in being able to achieve a goal as quickly as they're countering opposition instead. It is not the way I want it to be, but the way it is. You will see the good rule occasionally, but when they do, even they will find themselves in the minority of the majority around them who seek power by immoral means. This is the way it is, not the way I want it to be. The minority will be outvoted by the more corrupt majority. They will see their attempts to change the pendulum of power in the direction of good as taking one step forward to see the evil push them 6 steps back for every action legally or illegally. The good are needed,
and they fight the good fight.
And they fight the good fight. But these numbers do not lie. This is the present history of all time. It is the way it is. And the way it is did not come to be or happen by accident. More times than not, the good are turned bad. They are influenced by the web of the corrupt weaving compromises in their heads. Just because a hopper has good intentions does not mean good things will come. There is no promise certain when based in hope. There is no promise certain when based in hope. You cannot control hope, no more than you can let go of what you do not hold. There is no promise certain on promises made. Hope fades where faith stays. But what does loss create? What happens if promises are not fulfilled? Few hoppers have the power of will. Will is strong, but it can be killed. Hoppers that follow the good hopper will point their finger and turn to follow the corrupt if the corrupt comes with enough fulfilled accomplishments and benefits that will entice an otherwise good hopper foolish enough to convince themselves that following one who is corrupt does not make one good hopper corrupt. By the time their deeds add up, and that good hopper discovers they are no longer good, they lose faith in all things good because they were not able to be good themselves and keep their faith together. They then excuse evil and confuse good for what feeds their pleasures. Can you understand this, young hopper? Checks and balances. I am the emperor. I know my hoppers. There is good in the hoppers of this world in vast numbers. More vast than the corrupt. I repeat, there are more good than corrupt, but those in power outnumber the good. There is good in the hoppers of this world in vast numbers, but they are corrupt and succumb to fall under the number of those corrupt, like lightning is attached to thunder. When it comes to those who seek power, the balance shifts numbers to favor the corrupt that the good are under. In meetings I have attended in lands of barley that you will never see, I have seen how the only ones that the corrupt feel comfortable around are those as corrupt as they are guilty. They make deals, turn favors, honor dishonorable codes of behavior that are standard tradition used as initiation to test each other's loyalty. It is sad to see that happen more times than not. Even the good more often become corrupt when surrounded by corrupt thoughts. One deed at a time is fraught with excuses until the count is lost. This happens more than it does not. Do not let this be your lot. This world has a plot. There is a constant stream of thought. The haves versus the have-nots. What you have is numbers. If I was spiritual, I must see the devil in the details, for such patterns of behavior is taught. God's language is in math. If I was spiritual, I say again, I must see the devil in the details, for such patterns of behavior taught with these numbers. The selfish, greedy, prideful, ego-driven, self-righteous need affirmation of their claim to greatness. They need to feel it is divine and subscribed. Without a title, they have no symbolic right to rule anyone, and no proof to make others believe that they should rule. Without this, they become normal, and when they are in normal situations for other hoppers, they become abnormal, and they find themselves without power, and oftentimes without respect. They believe this about themselves and then internalize it to their own self-worth to feel they do not matter. But they want to matter. Those are many hoppers that feel this way. They will do anything to climb the social ladder, to feel like they matter. Now the good who make it this far usually are the ones, the singular fighter who was only here because he saw or was the direct victim or recipient of corruption that hurt him or a loved one, and he wants a change due to his experience. He wants no part of corruption, because that would mean that what happened to him and those like him is justified in vain, because all are corrupt the same, and it is but one corrupt against or for another, only exchanging names. That is me. I know those around me, fools that seek my power for the majority rule to reign. I saw corruption. I split from the queen, and the hoppers came with me. I forced no one. I am the emperor. I am of the hopper, for the hopper. But I am surrounded by thieves, usurpers, and criminals. It is a circle, a curse, generational, a crown of thorns. Some think they have good intentions, but they do not understand some hoppers hide their horns. It's always those closest to you that hurt you most, and your own kind that bring you down as much as lift you up in the storm. Whenever you are in my position, you will be hated, critiqued, and lied on. I am a target and blamed for everyone's failures, and given no credit to their success. I confess, more or less,